In a technical solo, let's talk about a few things that can help you along the way. The first thing is I would say working on dynamics with a varied height system. So for me, what I do for forte dynamics is I use like a 3/4 turn for the accent and then a tap stroke for the unaccented notes. For mezzo forte, I bring the accented note down to a half turn. I still keep the taps lower, perhaps a little softer. And then for piano, what I'll do is I actually change the velocity, but I keep the beats of the sticks below my wrist at all times. So let me demonstrate. I'll play 4 paradiddles at each dynamic: forte, mezzo forte, and piano. Then if I have fortissimo, what I do is a 3/4 inch turn and then a half turn for the unaccented notes. So I'll do fortissimo and then forte so you can hear the difference. And by doing these height systems throughout this technical solo, it should help me achieve some dynamic consistency throughout. In this etude, a couple of things that you need to work on are those dynamics. There are some quick changes, particularly at rehearsal C, where you'll need to downstroke the flam to begin the paradiddle passage. You have some very fast rolls that's going to require some arm motion, and then some single strokes, which cause a lot of motion change. So the technical portion of this is that we're going to have to switch from accented to unaccented notes. We're going to have to switch into finger and wrist mode for these single stroke passages that occur with 16th note triplets. We're going to need to switch into arm mode for the roll passages, and then we're going to need to be able to control these grace note figures that we see at rehearsal B, as well as controlling all of the diddle passages that we see at rehearsal C. So there's a lot of vocabulary to cover in this. Perhaps the trickiest part is going to be rehearsal B, and this is where we're working on these grace notes. So I would suggest that you work take it down to double first, then add it in. But the trick is going to be keeping the back fingers on the stick so we don't drop these in here. So it's really kind of wristed out. The next thing is to employ your arm for these roll passages. They move ahead pretty fast, so think for trying to wrist it, you're really going to be working hard and you're probably going to end up overplaying the instrument. So I'd work on where we're just initiating from the elbow and then our wrist is not bending for these rolls. So if you can see, I'm only going to turn my wrist for the accent and the rest is going to be arm motion. The rest of it should be fairly straightforward. You need to work on 2 heights, flam passages, accent tap passages, and then reviewing the topics that I've just discussed. For the triangle portion, I wanted to give a few tips to help you out as you prepare. First of all, the instrument, I'm using a 9-inch triangle. It's a little heavier and I find that it doesn't move around a lot, as well as this Black Swamp instrument that I happen to be using today has a lot of color, which helps. I have to make sure that I have a good clip with 2 strands in which the triangle is hanging. And then probably most importantly is that I have a tapered beater. And this one is also made by the same company I mentioned earlier, Black Swamp. But I find that this graduated beater has a better color profile than if we were using a straight piece of metal for our playing. A couple of points to consider when playing triangle. One is to make sure that we're holding it. How our hand is set up here looks like a triangle. Here's the bottom, here's the top point, and that it's simply going to be balanced between those. There are 2 primary playing areas that I reference to everyone, and these will be to the performer's own color. If you play straight on to the triangle, you hear that the tone is more straightforward and clear. If I do a little bit of an angle, you can hear there's a little more color in the tone. The next thing is to think about how the triangle is facing. So you can hear that if I play perhaps on the edge here, and hopefully the microphone will pick this up. So it has the tendency, it's a directional instrument. As far as the etude, here at rehearsal E, it's fairly straightforward. I would say that you need to work on going back and forth. So the 2/4 measure preceding F is going to be a back and forth motion. As it's crescendoing, I'm going to gradually open up, 1 E and 2 E, and then I'm back to this normal playing area. For the grace notes that you see 4 measures from the end, the thing I'm doing to help these grace notes contrast with the primary notes is that I have a slight dampen. And I hope these little bits of information will help you as you prepare the triangle portion of the audition.